So I spoke to a business owner last week and he'd generated 0 leads in 6 months, and he'd had a full-time business development manager, and he had the craziest tech stack that you'd ever seen. So all of the tools, 0 leads. And that's exactly why you don't need all these fancy tools to actually start generating leads on a consistent basis. In fact, a lot of the people that I work with just use one simple method, a couple of tools, and they're off to the races in terms of generating those leads. Now, one of my clients based in the UK that I work with, they're a SaaS business, and they generated 18 demos in 7 days, and they literally just use one email inbox and they pull leads from LinkedIn. So let me break it down in terms of why you don't need all these fancy tools, especially if you're a small to medium-sized business, to go and generate consistent leads. And if you already have all this fancy tech and you're still not generating leads, this is relevant for you as well. So to explain that situation where the business owner had generated 0 leads in 6 months, if you just try and put yourself in that person's shoes, where you've spent multiple thousands of dollars on all of these different tech stacks, and not only the tools themselves to actually pay someone to actually go and set it up. So you've got a CRM, you're using NA10 and Make.com for automations, you're using LinkedIn automations, you've got Sales Navigator set up on LinkedIn, you've got Instantly, so your email sending tool set up, and you've bought 15 email addresses with multiple different domains. If you think that that is going to solve all your problems with lead generation, it doesn't. And this is a prime example of why and how this can actually happen. So if you've gone 6 months and you generated 0 leads, and what this person actually said was the problems were the ideal customer profile was not set up correctly. So when you're pulling leads from like Make.com and Sales Navigator, it all trickles down from that, especially when you're doing lead generation. So if that ideal customer profile is wrong, then everything else is going to tumble down afterwards. So that was what they thought was going on wrong. And then they thought that the messages were misleading. So they were reaching out to people and they were positioning the messages wrongly, and those people who were receiving the messages basically thought, okay, well, they were just trying to have a chat with me, and then they ended up trying to sell me something, which is what obviously you want to be doing with cold outreach. But a lot of people mess that up. They go too friendly and it's almost like a chat, or they go on the other end of the spectrum where it's just like hell for leather, cold outreach, let's get a sales call, let's get booked in, and they sound too desperate. So there was probably something going on in between there where it was a little bit misleading. But where I think the main problem is lied with this person in particular was they were using other approaches. Like they were looking at other marketing mechanisms, like doing blogs and SEO, as well as actually going to do cold outreach as well. So I think the main problems here, which is a lot of people do struggle with this, is to begin with, there's no clarity. And I know you've probably heard a lot of people saying this, like nail your ICP, make sure that your offer's good. And if you've got an unclear offer and an unclear message, then everything's going to be confused. But where people go wrong, and I've been a culprit of this many, many times, is there's been no clarity for me to begin with. So I really just want to get stuck in and start doing all of this outreach and then setting up all the different tools before just taking a breath for a second and thinking about, okay, what's the sort of clarity here? Who do I need to target? Like, what's the actual plan? And that is where, me included, I used to get stuck on this all the time. So then the whole campaign would be terrible and you get shit results because there's no clarity to begin with. And then going on to this business in particular that we were speaking about, who got 0 leads, they've been in business for over 10 plus years, and they should be reaching out to people with pure authority because, 10 plus years, lots of case studies, lots of social proof, but still no one responded and no one booked in. So that shows me that they've got a lack of trust, and there's different ways that you can build that trust with cold outreach. Although cold outreach has got a stigma to it, you can actually build trust in different ways. You've got things like social proof. You can send videos to the prospect. You can send people collateral before you've even had a call, or before you've even asked them to have a call, or whatever your sales mechanism is. There's things that you can do to sort of bridge that gap with the trust, and I've gone through that on other videos. But as well, rather than you setting up a system that you think is going to work and the messaging that you think is going to work, you just need to use one simple system and slowly just reach out to people and actually get direct feedback from those people. So without sort of sounding too wishy-washy, I'm going to go into what Alex Hormozi, the man himself, basically says. So you've got 4 different types of lead generation, and this is just super simple. So you've either got warm outreach, so people who know you. You've got cold outreach, which is people who don't know you. You can run paid ads and you can post free content. Now, you're probably watching this video because you want to do either warm outreach or cold outreach, and you don't want to spend money on paid ads, and you don't have at least sort of 3 months ad spend to actually go through, so then you can actually understand what works and what doesn't. So you're probably not in that bucket, and you probably haven't got enough time or knowledge or expertise or anything like that to actually go and post that content, to actually go and generate leads. So you're probably going to be going with warm outreach and cold outreach, and that is the best place to start. So the man himself basically says if you're under $1 million in revenue, people literally do not know that you exist. And what that means is they don't even trust you. So when you do reach out to these people doing cold outreach, they don't know you exist. So therefore, they do not trust you. So you need to spend the first 4 hours of your day actually fixing that, and just pick one channel. So rather than doing this mistake here where you go literally 6 months and you have generated 0 leads, what you want to be doing is to go 1 month, and if you haven't generated any leads, then something needs to change. But that doesn't mean switching from doing cold outreach and then maybe going over to creating free content like blogs or social media content. What that means is, if you've picked cold outreach and nothing is working within the first month, then something needs to change. Whether it's the lead list that you've got, which is usually the main issue, whether it's your messaging, whether it's your positioning, how aggressive you are with your outreach. Have you got any lead magnets in place that you can send to people to actually get them on a call? There's loads of different things, and you just need to take a breath and sit back and understand, okay, what did work well? Did you even get any responses? Or even those bad responses and the sort of bad feedback that you get from people, you've got to log that and take that on board, so then you can actually refine and go further. I've run multiple campaigns before for people doing cold outreach for our clients or myself, where it's just tanked. It's just not worked within the first couple of weeks, or at least the first month. So then you've got to change things and you've got to test things. Obviously, marketing and lead generation and doing outreach, it doesn't just completely work first time, no matter how much planning that you do. Rather than thinking, right, I've spent 1 month on actually spending all this money and time and effort on creating this tech stack, and then it doesn't work, but no, we need to ride it out now for another 5 months. That is called the sunken cost fallacy. So if you don't know what that means, is basically it means if you've spent so much time, you think that you've spent so much time and effort setting something up, or for example, let's use the boyfriend and girlfriend analogy. So if you're in a relationship with someone and you know it's not for you, but you've spent 5 years with that person, you just think you've got to ride it out for another couple of years rather than cutting it off there and then. And it's the same with all this stuff here. So if you've spent, say, 20 grand on setting up a lead generation system, and you've got all this technology, and you've hired a full-time member of staff, and he's still not getting results, then you just need to make a educated guess to think, okay, well, I need to actually go and change things. You need to make a wise decision. And I've been a culprit of this. I've spent loads of time and effort and energy setting things like this up, and it still hasn't worked. But where it has worked better for me is where I've cut it off quicker and then changed the strategy. So hopefully that sort of paints the picture as to what you could be doing right now. And usually the solutions lie within these 3 options here. So you pick one of the key 4. And obviously if you're on this video, you're probably going to be doing warm or cold outreach. And what I do is, just to make sure everything goes smoothly as well as it can do, make sure that you've got crystal clear clarity to begin with. So who are the people that you're actually reaching out to, and does my message resonate with them deeply? If it doesn't keep them up at night in terms of what you're offering to them and the pains and the problems that they're facing right now, you're probably reaching out to the wrong people. And the trust element is so key here. And I've always had better results when I can show someone social proof, I can actually visually show them who I am, and I'm not over promising some crazy sort of guarantee and things like that, because that was what people used to do a couple of years ago, but it really turns people off now, in my experience anyway. And where I've just literally used one simple system to reduce the overwhelm for me, instead of bouncing around different ideas, I should be doing, Instagram outreach. Oh no, all of my clients are potentially on LinkedIn. Let's reach out to them. Or should I be doing, email, or should I be posting content? Just pick one simple system and then roll with it, and then refine it over time, rather than waiting 6 months before nothing actually works and you don't start generating leads. So picking that one simple system is key. So I've got a system that I always go through with my clients, whether it's for people who I'm coaching or it's for the done for you. And we start with that clarity piece here. And it again sounds wishy-washy, but there's literally no point in doing a campaign if you haven't got clarity in terms of who you're reaching out to, what your offer is, what your positioning is. So we start with the clarity piece there, and then we actually go and really nail down what your offer is going to be. So are these people actually going to be interested in what you've got to offer? And has it been proven before? There's loads of other things that go into it. And then you actually figure out what the system is going to be. And rather than spending, months and months and thousands of dollars on this different tech stack, you just want one simple system, which then you can start to execute on. And you will slowly do this, and you'll get feedback from people. And then once that's done, that's when you can start to understand how you can get these people to trust you, because you're that person who's reaching out to them. It's cold outreach and they do not trust you. These people hate you because they don't know who you are. So how are you going to make sure that those people trust you? Whether are you going to send them collateral before the call? Are you going to send them to a landing page where it's a video of you speaking to build that trust up? Whatever it may be, remember on the quote from Hormozi, literally no one knows that you exist. So this is absolutely key here. And then the conversion mechanism. So how are you going to get these people on a call or whatever your sales mechanism is, and to actually make them move forward? And then once you've gone to this stage here, this will give you more clarity in terms of where you go next. Because once you've got a couple more people on from one different campaign, so you've generated a couple of clients from one campaign, then that's when you can get clarity on actually going to the next stage, which is actually either scaling that up or changing things slightly, because maybe you got 3 clients and you were targeting to get 10 clients. So it all goes around in this flywheel here, and that will help you actually generate more leads consistently every single week. If you want a system like this and you want me to coach you on a one-on-one basis, click the instructions in the description. Or if you are looking for someone to do this for you, click the link in the description and it will explain how you can get in touch with me. I'll see you on the next one. Peace.